Now we turn to the global fight on the pandemic. The Omicron variant is driving a fourth wave of COVID infections in South Africa. Infants could be especially at risk as the country is seeing higher hospital admissions among young children. The new variant also comes at a time when most of Africa is anticipating a boom in tourists. A number of countries on the continent now have to deal with travel restrictions that could jeopardize their struggling economies. Elisa and Jamila has the story.
There are several Western countries that have reported the presence of the Omicron variant. They include Britain, Germany, Italy, Belgium, Israel, and the Czech Republic and elsewhere. But it's only Southern African countries that have been hit with travel bans. According to the South African government and the Federated Hospitality Association of South Africa, the South African tourism industry has lost millions of US dollars in revenue in just a few days as a result of the travel bans.
The immediate effects in the context of South Africa, for example, is that you are then putting a hold on tourism. Now, the tourism industry is a potential catalyst to the economic recovery that we seek to see in our country. The UK, for example, remains one of the largest sources of tourist arrivals in South Africa. So when the UK imposes a travel ban, it has that impact on our country.
At least 30 countries have so far banned or restricted travel to and from South Africa. These include a few fellow African countries.
It's quite regrettable, very unfortunate, and I'll even say sad, to be talking about travel restrictions imposed by a fellow African country. I have since seen that there's about 3 other African countries that have also taken this decision to impose travel restrictions on South Africa and other countries in Southern Africa.
South African scientists have been criticized for the announcement of the detection of the Omicron variant. Some here have called on the science community to be cautious in the way that they make the announcements. But others are quite aggrieved that the science community is being punished instead of being applauded for discovering Omicron.
What we're dealing with here is exactly the same scenario that we had a year ago when our scientific labs identified the beta version and it got labeled the South African variant. Our laboratories were the first to identify this variant. It isn't that it was created in South Africa or appeared in South Africa for the first time.
According to scientists advising the South African government, the new coronavirus variant appears to be more transmissible than its predecessors, although most cases have been mild so far. Elisa and Jamila for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Norway has reported at least 13 cases of the Omicron variant, marking the biggest outbreak outside of southern African regions. The new infections are linked to a Christmas party in Oslo, with officials saying infections could rise to over 60 in the near future. Norway has since reintroduced national restrictions to curb the spread of the virus. Similarly, Britain has also tightened testing for all inbound travellers after registering 160 Omicron cases so far, adding Nigeria to its red list. In Singapore, people who have not been vaccinated cannot eat at restaurants, enter shopping malls or travel. They also need to pay for their own COVID-related treatment. It's causing a divide within the community and causing tensions within families. Miralu reports.
Like many Singapore residents, the choice to get vaccinated was a simple one for Andrea. But it was not as straightforward for his wife. Her initial hesitancy to get vaccinated led to disagreements at home for nearly 3 to 4 months. Things truly came to a head when restrictions on the unvaccinated started impacting their daily lives.
This is where we, obviously now we're reaching kind of the highest point of tension. So my wife slowly couldn't access some venues, couldn't do some activities. So that's where it became more difficult on day-to-day basis.
Another area of concern for Andrea was his 13-year-old daughter, who chose to remain unvaccinated out of respect for her mother.
At school, also, she could not eat with the other kids. They were put in a separate space where they were having the individual tables and eating alone. So it creates a bit of isolation.
After weeks of anxiety, it was a family vacation outside Singapore that finally convinced Andrea's wife and daughter to get their jabs. Although 87% of Singapore's population is fully vaccinated, Andrea's case is not isolated. Conflict resolution expert Miki Amrita says she has already counseled 40 couples on this issue since April.
Mostly they bring these three questions when they're anti-vax. Is it safe? Is it necessary? Is it effective? So these answers, they obviously say, no, it's not necessary. They can fight their own natural immune, so they don't want to put any toxin in their body.
The lack of sufficient data and uncertainty around the virus and the vaccine were the key reasons why Mayuko chose to delay her jab. Though she's now fully vaccinated, her initial reluctance was hard for her husband to understand.
There was a phase we decided, okay, let's not talk about it, let's not touch about it. There was a phase that we fight a lot because of this situation. And then there was a phase we kind of came to, mutual point and tried to understand each other.
While Mayuko and Andrea's families have been able to resolve the issue, Miki informs us that others have not been that lucky. The counselor warns that when inoculations begin for younger children and if boosters are made mandatory, the issue of vaccines might once again become a bone of contention in some families. Miro Lu, CGTN, Singapore.
The Chinese mainland is reporting 42 new local transmissions. 30 cases are in Hulunbuir city in Inner Mongolia. Harbin, the provincial capital of Heilongjiang in northeast, has recorded 10 cases. The remaining 2 are in Dehongdai and Jingpo Autonomous Prefecture in Yunnan province. 17 imported cases are also reported. Due to the Omicron variant, Hong Kong is tightening travel requirements for inbound travelers. Hong Kong residents with a travel history to Finland, Ghana, South Korea, Norway and Saudi Arabia need to show proof of vaccination and a negative test result before returning. Upon arrival, there will be a 21-day quarantine at a designated hotel. Hong Kong will begin registration for a health code system on Friday. Officials say the purpose is to facilitate quarantine-free travel in the Greater Bay Area, which also includes Guangdong and Macau.